So, we are back. We are back. We are invisible because I'm a stupid idiot. There we go. Now we're visible. Hey, there we go. We are back, Carlo. It is the 18th of January. It is effectively Blue Monday. This is apparently the day. I know in the UK it's a thing, but it's apparently the day in the world that is like the worst day of the year or something like
The
that.
worst day in the world.
Yeah, it's the worst day in the
worst
world
day in the
today.
world.
Yeah, the worst day in the world. No, it's supposed to be the worst day of the year. So, are we gonna make people's days a little bit better?
Always try. Always
Yeah,
try.
always try. Um,
Not been too bad a day for me, Same as always. Barely see the sun. Nice and dark by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey, what the hell?
I think the difference is that you're like semi-vampire, so you not seeing the day, like you not seeing the sun is actually probably a positive thing.
I'm
Um,
getting very, very white these days. I haven't seen any sunlight in quite a while.
which is weird because you're a pasty white guy anyway. So I mean, uh, anyway, right, we are back. It is as always Tourney Ground. We are here to talk about the news from the last week, and we're probably going to talk about some World Cup predictions. You released. How long was it? I'm going to have a quick look at just how
Nearly 2 hours. Nearly two
ridiculously
hours
long it
of
was.
rambling about lists. Yeah.
1 hour, 48 minutes, and 21 seconds, and I have seen 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 40 seconds. I haven't finished the video, partially because, to be honest, I couldn't be bothered.
I'm nothing if not concise.
Yes. Um, yeah. Oh, dear. um, yes. Okay, so we will look through what we've got planned today. First of all, we'll cover the Visions in the Flames. Yeah, we've got the Visions in Flames. Is the usual. What have we got here?
Looks
We've
like
got
they're gonna just be one visions a week on a Tuesday now, right? That's what we
yeah,
think's happening from now on,
yeah.
maybe.
That's the biggest piece of news, isn't it? Actually, is that there's only one Visions in the Flame, which is a little bit disappointing for those of us who were wanting more information on Greyjoys. Um, I doubt it was just a 1 week off. I think they
But
are. Yeah, go
does
on.
it mean that Greyjoys are about to come out?
I actually think it's got a lot to do with needing to slow down the spoilers.
Maybe, please, maybe.
Maybe,
It's
maybe.
January, right?
I have
Quarter
heard
one.
I have heard rumors from through the grapevines and things like
Unnamed
that.
sources.
Yes, through unnamed sources. Um, that that the kind of like the Greyjoys have already been printed, so anything that's been missing out of the the workbook, I was gonna say that, the rule book, has already been printed and is in the Greyjoys like stuff now. So whether or not the faction is going to be out around the corner, is going to be interesting. Um, we'll see. We will see where that takes us.
A Song of Ice and Fire France
hmm
says March Greyjoys,
Yep.
May for MOD.
hmm that was, I believe, released today. And yeah, so the faction packs are going to be about 20
Fifth
quid.
month of the year.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Hmm.
We're in the first.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's
it
that's
is
not what I
interesting.
thought it was going to be.
No. We'll see. We'll see. I'm guessing that mammoths will be in that same that lump, same with in the May time as well, with Mother of Dragons. I'm assuming they're all being held back to that same time, and it also means the
Nah.
replacement cards won't be here till May. So
Now, now it's Blue Monday, Mickey.
now it's Blue Monday.
I'm upset.
Well,
Now I'm upset. Now it's the worst day of the year.
let's be honest.
I
Let's be
honestly
super honest.
really, really hoped that we were talking January, late January for Greyjoys and start of quarter two for other things. And I assumed that Mother of Dragons and MOD, Dervishes, Mammoths, I thought that was all just going to come with Greyjoys. And yeah.
hmm Yeah.
I don't understand why they put out Rulebook 2021. like I thought it was out because Greyjoys were going to have it in their box, and therefore they had to release it. So why have they released Rulebook 2021 when nothing requires there to be this mismatch between 2021 rules and old balance?
I do think we need to have. I mean, obviously it's difficult because at the moment there are no tabletop tournaments really, but we'll get into some announcements and other things that are going to be happening. But it is very unclear what CMON are actually trying to say at the moment. Are they saying use 2021? Are they saying don't use 2021? Are they saying use
Well, they've taken
2021?
1.6 off the site.
Exactly. But is
But it's
1.6
still
still in War Council?
Council.
Yeah. So are they saying use 2021, but use it with the 1.6 stuff, and you'll just have to do like there's just going to be a weird transition phase, which you know what is not that bad. It if anything, using 2020 rules in with 1.6 stuff, which just means there's a little bit of a different meta for a while because things like Bow and Marsh and these card draw effects are going to be less powerful. So there's always that positive side of it, I guess. It shakes the meta up that way. But then it's only going to be like that for a couple of months, and then we're going to get the faction packs in May. The timing is a little bit. I'll be honest with you, it's unfortunate. It's a little bit disappointing. But let's be honest, did we expect anything different? I thought Greyjoy's March was kind of like what we were working with, so that doesn't surprise me.
I was just desperately hoping that 2021 would be a better year than 2020.
I know, right?
Desperate man.
Clearly. So I mean, we'll go into that later on. But the vision's going down to once a week. I think that shows you that. That told me last week that they needed to slow down the visions. They were releasing stuff too quickly to keep the hype alive. So you go down to once a week so they can still release content every week to take us through. And we even said that if you go back to Tourney Ground a couple of episodes ago, I said it seems ridiculous that they're doing this. If they maintain it, I'd be impressed. And if they maintain this going into next year, it means that stuff's around the corner. You can literally go back like 3 weeks.
1 week's a good rate. Absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Happy to see one Visions and Flames a week. I honestly sort of thought that the ending of the weekly Greyjoys would indicate that Greyjoys were absolutely imminent, matter of a week or two.
Yeah.
So very upset to hear that that's still 2 months, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, away from being released.
Yeah. Brett saying for it's worth organised play wants 1.6 for March tournament. So I mean I'll cover that quickly. The March tournament is something that CMON are they're not running it. They're not running the tournament. They are just sponsoring the tournament, from my understanding. The actual tournament is going to be run by other individuals, but it's they are going to use 1.6 rules. They are going to use all the stuff that's released up until that point. So Mothers of Dragons, Mammoths, all the stuff there will not be in that tournament. And CMON are only running it as a replacement effect for what is cancelled Adepticon. So it's basically very similar to the old Family Times game tournament that was run last year. The difference is it's got a little bit more run up and blessing from CMON than it did last time. They have still not mentioned organised play whatsoever. So as far as I'm concerned, even if it's organised by the organised play team, it is not an organised play event because there is no such thing as an organised play event. They don't exist. They're not a thing that anyone can sign up for and organise.
One event is an organised play.
It's an event, especially in one place in America. And don't get me wrong, Family Times Game have done a lot, and I really support the guys at Family Time and Brett. Obviously, they do a hell of a lot for the game in the US, and I think that needs to be said yet again, that the indie community is really strong in terms of representing the US in terms of pushing the game out there and growing the game. But I can't sit here and willingly say that one organized event in one state in America as a replacement for one of the biggest conventions in the world is organized play. Until they see an organized play event in Europe, in some of the big European cons. I mean, the convention of board games.
If organized play isn't in every state and in every country, then it's not organized play. It's just a CMON giving a stamp to an event.
Yeah. What I will say though
You know,
is if that is their first outing for an organized play event and they're using it as like a tester, hey, I'm all for that. I'm all for that if that's what they're going to do. And they're going to say, look, this is going to be the first event. We're going to run what we've got. We're going to see how it goes, and and then we'll roll it out. I'm fine with that. And if it ends up being the first organized play event, that's fine. You know, but until now, we don't know anything organized play round the corner or not.
what's what we got?
What's what we got?
That's the bit I'm currently like completely like, what's what we got? What are they testing? What are they running?
I
Like,
don't know.
like
We'd love to know. We're right. Anyone would love to know.
you know, like, have you got a new tournament format? No.
We
Okay.
invented one.
We got.
It's actually that's worth pointing
I don't
out.
know, like it's like a long time ago they showed this app which had this very rudimentary ranking system. If they want to put out their own ranking system, brilliant. We got an app. You got things. How do I sign up? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
let's get on it.
You know, I'm better than Larks.
Cool, innit?
You know, where's you know, where do I sign up? Where do I prove? Where do I get all that sweet prizes from Simon? Because you know what I mean, that's the reason why people will play these things. You know, people will play because Simon provide them with a ton of prizes for doing so.
Yeah.
That's the part. I don't know what they're offering. Like, they haven't spoken about it in a year, over a year.
They have.
That's crazy.
Well, for me as well, I think this would have been the perfect time. And some people say, oh, you can't do any organized play events because there are no events. And I agree 100% that you can't run any online events from CMON because of obviously the branding thing. And I know the copyright issues and stuff that they have to make sure that they avoid going down that route. But they could have invented a system. They could have built a system. Carlo, do you know anybody who's invented a tournament system and even developed any different formats for tournaments over the last year?
Sunday Slaughter.
Yeah, that was it. Sunday Slaughter.
Sunday Slaughter and his Slaughterhouse Rule.
Sunday Slaughter. So Sunday Slaughter came up with one. I guess.
Go check it out.
The guys even Family Time Games with their kind of like dual partnership tournament they ran last year, right? With the thing where you both participate. Like, that was a different format. You bought in ELO and you built a whole website, you know, to run tournaments on your own, essentially. So
anyway,
if Simon
we'll
can't
see what
do
they do, because at the moment,
I'd love to see it. I want to see it.
Isn't anything.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Isn't a thing.
Yeah. Slaughterhouse. Yeah, Slaughterhouse. Great. I'm a big fan of Slaughterhouse rap as well, so, you know, I won't go down that route. Anyway, Visions in the Flames, characters attachments. We saw 4 character attachments, so let's do our classic bit where we say we're not going to do hot takes and then immediately do hot takes. No. The actual big thing for me is actually this bit here. This bit here, which was a nice little clarification for me because it is something that has been missing from attachments for a long time. And that is, as a rule of thumb, character attachments are costed at 1 or 2 points, with the 3-point cost being a rare exception where the attachment is bringing something truly impactful to the battlefield. We've already seen one 3-point attachment away from actual named attachments, which is the Watch Captain, with the free attack or maneuver. 1 or 2 points for attachments that are named, though, in general, aside from 1 or 2 special exceptions, that's good news, right? Seeing actual characters from the actual book appearing, typically I'd hope more often.
So what we've seen is, when the game was first released, the majority of named attachments were like 3 points. You know what I mean? Like, even like Roose Bolton as an attachment was 3 points. They nerfed him down to 2, and they buffed him down to 2. Like, he lost no abilities, became 2 points, and still nobody uses him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it tells you like how wildly overcosted he was at 3. Where currently 1.6 character attachments, they cost 2 to 3 points. There are some rare occurrences of 1-point attachments.
Yep.
Maybe quite specific to like Free Folk have some. Some of the Kingsguard attachments are 1 points and they're named, but they're practically like they're like solo single point attachments, if you get what I mean. Like, they're
Yeah.
not really named people. You're not like, hey, it's Preston Grenfield. You know what I mean? Or, hey, look, it's Merrin Trent. You're like, right, it's the no-named people from the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
So like they get away with being 1 point in the old way of things, but like characters were 2 or 3 points, and hardly anybody's taken them.
I
They
will
all
I
go
will
on.
say on that front, talking about Merrin Trent, you generic named your Kingsguard B and like Kingsguard A. I was playing my World Cup game the other day, and my opponent referred to Jarl as a raid leader, which said me everything about normal raid leaders as well. And I was just like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. He's not even Jarl. He's raid leader. He's generic raid leader, because no one ever runs the actual generic raid leaders.
yeah,
But there you go. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm happy that character attachments not necessarily are going to be more frequent. We'll see how the meta shapes up in terms of attachments, but the very fact that they are going to be cheaper, so more people are going to be running them by definition. You know, certainly in the early days of the meta, more characters in the game. I mean, a Song of Ice and Fire a Song of Ice and Fire stats. A Song of Ice and Fire is a game entirely about lore, right?
Yeah.
The characters matter, the factions matter, the intricacies and the tactics board, all those things matter because we all know Game of Thrones from either the books, the TV series, or we're just interested in Game of Thrones as a conceptual idea. The game itself is, I mean, we have sat here and said the mechanics in the game are brilliant, right? We think the game mechanics are fantastic, almost second to none. But it's still going to be the lore that drove us into it in the first place. I want to see characters on the field. I want to see cool people that are named.
Exactly, and I want them to feel impactful, and we can only hope for that. I think it's a big step forward to go down to 1 to 2 points, because 3 points is just a monumental barrier. Like, I know that raiders are changing, but like, you used to be able to buy a whole unit for 3 points, and instead you're just going to tell me that all I get is one model who doesn't even add to a unit. He replaces something that's already in that unit. Like, you're basically just tagging on a few extra lines of rules as opposed to like a whole more thing that you get to play with. So
I like Steven's comment there. Characters bring character. Exactly. What makes a good list is the characters inside it, and like, not necessarily when I say good list, I mean competitive lists, obviously different, but good, interesting lists are created by the characters inside them, not just what units you picked. So we see Jojen. These are all 2-point attachment we're seeing. We've seen of the four base factions, if you will, the 4 oldest factions there: Jojen, Jaime, Corrin, and the Weeper. So Jojen Reed with his affiliation Cranagman. So he brings Cranagman to the unit, which I can't remember if he did before, but it makes a lot of sense. He's basically bringing
I think he
Mira
did.
Reed.
Nobody ever fielded him.
Yeah,
Nobody fielded him because he had practically, this was the best thing that he could roll, like kind of sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then he had really negative effects that he could roll as well.
Didn't he?
You couldn't competitively play him. Otherwise, he's gonna screw you so bad at the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely. But the new green site, each time it performs an attack or charge, you can just automatically gain one of the following, which is a reroll, or you can the attack die, or reroll the charge. You also ignore the hindering and the rough keywords if you get the charge one. With charges being, so this is a weird combination here. With charges now being 2 actions,
know where you're going.
You get to reroll the charge distance, and when you hit the enemy, you now complete a melee attack action, and it specifically says that in the wording. So you're doing an attack action, so you now get to choose another one. So you're always going to choose a reroll. So regardless of what you do with Jojen, you will always get the reroll on a charge. About the only difference is that you might not be able to play cards if you get disorderly.
Yeah.
That's literally it. And you get 2 shots at that as well.
He luckily enough, it doesn't really matter.
No.
The vast majority of the time, you'll be expecting to not be disordered anyway. But it's a nice little bonus on top.
The attack rerolls
because of the way it's worded, it seems like it's a mistake. It should just say it should just say that Jojen always rerolls attacks, because there's no time when you don't get to use that rule. So it shouldn't be like when you make a melee attack. You know what I mean? It should just be like when you make like Jojen rerolls attacks. And then he should also have this when you charge, and it shouldn't be you may pick one of these things, because you can always pick both.
According to the way they've written the rules, yeah, you will always get both.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah.
The way they've written it makes it feel like it's a choice, but it's not. It's 100% guarantee on both, which makes you think that maybe they don't realize that it's 100% guarantee on both.
Yes.
It's a tiny thing. It's a tiny thing. You get rerolls on the charge anyway.
Yeah.
We're just glad that it wasn't like they accidentally gave +2 attacks to an attack and didn't realize that you got them on the charge. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think the big thing for me is that it might show that there's a slight disconnect in their understanding. The understanding of who's written these particular rules and the understanding of the core rules. Maybe they weren't written at the same time, weren't adjusted at the same time. I don't know. Or maybe we're getting the charge rules wrong, and actually the way the charge rules are written is not actually how they should be played. But ultimately, we can only play what's written. So, the interesting thing for Jojen is that the attack dice does work on bowmen. So 2-point attachment to automatically get rerolls on bowmen is pretty cool. It's always good having reroll on archers. Jamie for 2, he brings Stalwart, which makes a lot of sense in my opinion. I don't quite understand why old Jamie didn't used to bring something like that. And he comes with the martial train, which we've seen before. I believe the Screamer Co has it, and it's when you make an attack, melee attack specifically, you can reroll and the enemy becomes vulnerable. I think that's good. Yeah, 2 1-point abilities in my opinion. Great.
Yeah. Are you sensing like my medium level of interest? Like,
I am. Because I know that what you're saying is it's a 2-point attachment, it doesn't bring enough, it's not going to get used.
Yeah, it's still not enough.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say all 4 of them, I'm not buying them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, they're good, they're better than they used to be, but all 4 of them, I'd rather have 40% of another 5-point unit. You know, Jamie, great, sure. I'll take, I'll give up Jamie and one other 2-point character, and I'll have another unit of Lannister Guardsmen, please. Like, is basically what I'm saying. Still think that you're not giving these guys enough. Like, you're not, unless we do, like, they've talked about the fact that we're going to move to like a more of a ranks-based game, and like units are still going to be viable on their last rank. And yeah, okay, characters maybe are supposed to be a big part of that. Your character still has his rules right up until he's 1 model left. But I just haven't seen it happen yet. I haven't wanted to invest 2 more points in any unit that I've seen that I think, yes, this is really going to change things. They're points that I spend after I've got to 38 points and I couldn't possibly buy another unit. Then I'm like, okay, I got 2 points. What 1 attachment do I kind of like add out to one of these units?
Or even looking at your units and saying, which unit would I rather upgrade to this unit, or how can I replace a 5-point with a 7-pointer, for example? Is that going to be just better?
How good with Jamie? 8 points. Well, okay, you're allowed to be really good. You're 8 points.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a 5th of your list in competitive. 40-point list as a 5th.
Exactly. Like, 8 points outside of cavalry aren't being fielded right now. I don't know what's going to change that makes that true. And something might be changing, but I haven't seen it in the rule set. It's going to have to be in the balance itself.
Definitely. I think there is one character on here. I mean, we'll talk about the other 2 while we're going through. Corrin, to the last. Now, this immediately saw some people being like, that seems too strong, and some people being like, it's not that bad. It comes with Go Down Fighting with the changed version, which is each time a rank is destroyed, it's 1 wound. So you don't have this kind of like control swords, it's D3. So they've taken out the randomness there, which I like to some extent. It was oppressive when you used to kill someone like, I was trying to think, like Steer or Osher, and you just take like half your unit just dies because you killed 2 ranks of an enemy. So I like that being toned down a little bit. That was a bit ridiculous. But Corrin's to the last. When this unit is destroyed, you do a morale check, and when you succeed, it is not destroyed, it remains in play with 1 wound and becomes panicked and vulnerable.
Big question. When I read this,
yep,
is Corrin still alive? or is Corin dead?
I don't know.
It's massively, massively different depending on whether or not he's alive or dead. If he's dead and you're just putting a generic model back on, you're like, yeah, whatever. But if Corin's still there and you always get to keep checking, am I still alive? Am I still alive? Am I still alive? Then it's way, way powerful.
Yes.
And I'll pay 2 points for it. I'll buy that for 2. I'll have that.
Yeah.
I'll buy that one.
That's good for 2, because that's not a
Yeah.
that's a
I'll
unit
have
that
that
isn't
for
dying.
2.
Thankfully, with the panicked and vulnerable, it's unlikely if he does so. So Brett's saying he's alive. Brett does aware of these things being a playtester. He might know that if that's true or not. So that might be how it's intended to be played in the playtesting environment. But we don't currently know that. It doesn't actually say that. But I think you can probably assume that it is. It's not destroyed but remains in play with 1 wound. So you just don't remove the last wound effectively, which would be Corin in
All right.
nearly every case.
What? You're saying vulnerable and panicked, right? What? How likely do you think this guy's going to die now?
Well, that's it. That's the thing, is that with vulnerable and panicked, you're more likely to die, at least on an attack, or like any given attack. On any given attack, because you only need to do 1 wound. Any given attack will probably kill you.
Right, and then I just have to pass the panic test.
But it's an order, so you can only use it once a turn.
All right. Okay. All right.
So
I'll let you off because
if there's an option to do it more, but again, it comes back to activation advantage. The way you beat this is by having more than 1 attack.
Yeah.
Because then you can get through the order and then kill him. Or Walder, old Walder can just headshot him.
Old Walder.
Yeah.
Yeah, not current.
Not new Walder. Grace, you forget. That's the triple dot. Yeah. This is the thing. New Corin, especially if you think of old John's cards, you see if John's card's changing, but now his watch has ended or whatever. Not as, the other one. I shall not die until my last breath, or words to that effect.
It shall not be done until John's done.
Yeah. You can chain this. You could literally chain this and be like, I didn't die, and I didn't die. Oh, and I didn't die. I can see that being annoying. So yeah.
I'll buy him. If he's still alive, I'll buy him.
Yeah.
2 points. I'll have him.
So
just throw that unit at something and watch it piss your opponent off as it just doesn't disappear.
Yeah. Interestingly, new Walder can just trigger the swords, of course. Yeah, the new Walder does allow you to trigger swords. So what's the first thing people are going to be like? Oh, I'm running Corin. What I need to do is probably run more NCUs so I can fill the tactics board up. Rip goes their 2 NCU meta push. So anyway, we'll go on to the Weeper. Vicious, sure, whatever. I actually don't care. Vicious is okay, but I don't pay a point for Vicious anymore. I think I used to, but I don't anymore. I actually almost don't care about it. His Grizzly example: start of any turn, anything within short of his unit gains a panic token when he kills of his own model. Now, let's be realistic. Even if you were to dive headlong in with a unit of raiders or something like that, he is probably not going to be putting any more than 3. If he's putting 3 panic tokens on, I think he's probably worth it. But let's be realistic. He's probably going to be putting on 2 most of the time. If he puts on, even then, putting on 2 is probably average. I don't see him putting on 3 often. I can see him putting on 1 a lot of the time as well.
I would say you're gonna put 1 as often or more often than you put down 3.
Yes.
You hope that the majority is 2, but you're gonna average out at 2, at best, And if your opponent knows that he's there, all they have to do is spread their units a bit. And yeah, okay, that has value if you're gonna force your opponent to spread out and stuff like that. But you have to spread against free folk anyway, so that you don't just get entirely enveloped around the side. You pretty much spread so that you're not allowing units into your flanks, but cover as much ground as possible so that there isn't a whole side of the board where your opponent's just running rampant and you're yeah, exactly.
Now the interesting thing here is that it's the start of any turn, so he can't even do this before he charges unless he's already point blank. If it's a guaranteed charge, yeah, sure, but he's not going to use this before he charges in, so it doesn't even benefit his own unit. This is one of these things you have to be stuck in to use. Now, with the Free Folk card being able to kind of like grab the abilities of another unit and do the start of turn effects straight away, I can see something happening there. But again, I'm now playing a tactics card and buying the Weeper to have a second shot at putting down like one or two panic tokens at best. He's someone who wants to stay in.
I feel like
He wants to
he's a
be in
rough sell.
he wants to be in protracted combats, and the only way, shape, or form that free folk stay in protracted combats is if they don't die. And in case you hadn't seen, the only free folk unit that we've seen from 1.7 has increased in its rate of death, or 2021, I should say.
He of the four of them, like Jojen, without an absolute shadow of a doubt, is better. Jamie,
he's okay.
Lost some things. I think he's better. I think he's overall better. Same cost. I'm comparing him to his Young Lion variant.
Yeah, okay.
Where he used to give +2 ranks. I assume that's rough. That's the same picture that he uses for his Young Lion.
This is the Young Lion version here, so
that is the Young Lion. Yeah. So by comparison to his old Young Lion variant, I think probably better. The Young Lion only had one specific use, which was in Mountain's Men, really, and only in like a Gregor or Clegane army. It was about the only time that he ever saw play. Corin, if he stays alive, I do think that he's more thematic towards Corin and better. The Weeper got worse. The Weeper used to have use, and now I think that he's actually worse than Old Weeper. And Old Weeper wasn't exactly like a go-to pick for free folk either. Like he still doesn't see play. I don't think there's a single Weeper in the World Cup, right? And you just made him worse, in my opinion.
Or attachment. So yeah, I would generally. I think he's different. I think that's the other thing. He's a very different role now compared to what he used to be. And the funniest thing is that the one thing he synergizes the most, which is like the Bone Lord's Chosen style, which you can't have him in, as far as we are aware, and follows a bone, already have vicious. So you're paying 2 points for a 1 point attachment, basically. So you're basically wanting to put this in raiders, and then killing a 1 wound off a raider unit is a one-way street to getting your unit dead straight away. So maintaining that for a long period of time is not going to happen. So as a free folk player, will I be picking the new Weeper? Probably not. I'll have to see until I see the full picture, but no, not inspired whatsoever. Not interested in trying to make that part of a combo work. Combos don't work in general in A Song of Ice and Fire. They're not a statistically sound thing to do. You should go for strong standalone pieces, and he just isn't. So
strong standalone. Corin, absolutely last man. I'll have him. Jamie, I don't see a unit that I want to put him in yet. Jojen, I don't think your archers want to spend 8 points.
No.
And I don't think he does enough for the others, unless like they've lost a ton of things from their tactics deck around their maneuverability and their charge strength. I don't think they really need his charging ability. And it's hard to say. Jojen's the hardest to place right now for me because as things stand, Starks don't care about him. They're never finding themselves in really long, protracted fights where they need that reroll, and they don't need his maneuverability. In the future, they might need both of those things, and Jojen might have a place at 2. I'm not telling you he's way overcosted at 2. But at the moment, I only like Corin, and only since I found out that he's still alive, which I didn't really think that it did because of the way the unit died but came back on 1 wound, I kind of assumed that the attachment was dead.
The funny thing is they even say it in the article, just leave this one here because I know people talked about it. The Night's Watch average morale stat is going to be 5, apparently. Now, I don't know how they work out that average, because if you count War Machines as 0, now they add and massively reduce that average. But yeah.
I mean, if you can stick Corin in a 4 morale unit, then that panic token doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to force through a fail off the back of that with just a panic token.
Yeah.
So, hey, Corin's my boy out of those 4.
So, okay. Actually, Brett, interestingly, you're not right with the way that's worded. Just responding to that, it says when the unit is destroyed is just the trigger. So when the unit is destroyed is when the last model is removed. So the last model has to be removed. Corrin is no longer on the base. What you're then saying, it is not destroyed but remains in play with 1 wound. That's effectively a heal to 1 wound. That is how that is currently played. In other ways that the game functions with that, pretty much. But the wording on that. Actually, now I think about it, people play it differently.
Red's saying that
but...
that Corin is the last to die, therefore he doesn't die. But the way it's worded is the last model has died.
Yes, because it's when it's destroyed, not when it
back.
should be destroyed, and that's the difference. Is that when it should be destroyed, when the other time is using the trigger, it isn't. Whereas this is when it is. So there's a subtle difference there. There should be rather than is.
We'll find out what happened.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not our place. We'll find out. It will come up in FAQs, right?
I hope he stays alive, because then he's an attachment that's worth having.
Exactly, yeah. We'll see it in an FAQ, we hope. Or they'll answer that one and they'll fix that one up. Yeah, exactly, Charles. That's another good point, actually. Last Stand still uses attachments, even though they're not on the model. They do need to definitely sort that out in terms of, like, is an attachment there or not. And I think it's easier, personally, that unless the attachment is killed, the attachment rules stay on the unit and the attachments actually can be healed back up. I would prefer that. Unless it is assassinated and removed from the model, which is different. You could have a thing that says, like, remove it from the unit, which is different. So, like, assassinate removes Joffrey from the unit. That's not the same as killing him. He's gone. He's not in the game anymore. That would be the way to navigate that. And then you could just heal up attachments and it wouldn't be a problem. Okay, so, anyway, we've talked enough about visions, and we've discussed all that kind of nonsense. So, we're on to the World Cup. The World Cup. We're week 1. The end of week 1. Carlo, your most favourite, your least favourite bits of week
1? Least favourite, a whole rabbit hole rule discussion about whether or not, crazily enough, almost what we were just talking about, whether or not a commander is still in a unit after they're dead, or whether or not that unit is still the commander's unit. If Steyr dies, can you play a card that's played on Steyer's unit? For example, I think Steyr might not be the exact. I think Loras, goddamn right? Baratheons and their loose wording on their tactics cards. Loras's card doesn't say play it on Loras. It says play it on Loras's unit. If I assassinate Loras, is it still Loras's unit? And this all came up because of Clash of Kings and whether or not, if a character were moved to a different unit, whether or not you could respawn the unit itself. That's my least favorite part, because I still haven't got an answer. I honestly don't have an answer. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah,
that's rough. It's tough. It's tough when you get asked to make a ruling on something and you just don't know what the answer should be, like could be, and you make a short, quick answer, and suddenly you realize people start asking more and more and more and more questions, and you're like, oh god, that has so many ramifications that I didn't think about.
Yeah. So interestingly, Brett's saying that it cleared up with Eddard. If the character is dead, it isn't his unit. So that is interesting. So you could assassinate a commander and then they don't have a commander's unit, which will make things like Fire and Blood. Is it Fire and Blood? The one where you got your commander cards and your commander card can, like, you play cards based on your commander activating. Well, you don't have a commander anymore, so you don't get the cards. That'll be interesting. That has an interesting ramification. That's a really quick and easy way to all assassinate characters, and everything that assassinates attachments, 100% just take it, because you just immediately make your opponent more useless. Ignore the game mode mechanics. I love it. I love things where you can take an attachment and then you ignore half the game mode mechanics. So yeah, that's obviously a questionable thing.
Vargo.
Yeah, new
Incoming
Vargo.
Vargo.
You just everyone
Incoming
spams
Vargo
Vargo because you can just kill opponents and then they don't have their tactics cards anymore, or whatever it might be. Anyway, so should we go through the predictions first? Should we go through results first? What do you want to do?
Predictions. Even though tons of predictions were made off of the first round results,
Yes.
we'll pretend like people predicted before they even knew, and we'll all look like really intelligent people because most of our predictions came true.
We are super intelligent people. Totally. No, I'm not. So the thing is, oh, I've got something to say to Bob as well, actually, in a little bit. Remind me.
While he's here.
No, he'll stay. So, right, prediction time. We ran Gruslug, Craig in chat. He's an absolute legend. He did. I will give this guy a shout out. Gruslug, otherwise known as Craig. He is absolute legend because I think it was Monday. I think it was just after Tourney Ground. He put up some predictions. He put his top 8 for EU and his top 8 for NA, and he said these are the people I think are going to qualify. And as a result, off the back of that, me and Carlo had a chat. And we thought it would be a really good idea to run a tournament, a predictions kind of like challenge for the patrons over at Song of Ice and Fire Stats Patreon, and the winner will get a prize. So the person who gets the most predictions right will get a prize. So I think we've had 7 entries. Now I say 7. There's been 6 entries, Gruslug included, because I've also included Carlo's predictions as well. But Carlo doesn't count. Carlo can't win prizes of his own molded breasts. So,
I thought it was a side picture of my face, which
that too.
If that's what people want, then they can have one.
I mean,
but I think Mickey's going to get you a real prize, an actual thing that you want.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, I was just going to get an entire body cast of you, Carlo. Just like so everyone had their own inflatable Carlo in their room. I mean, I know I want.
I want one of those. one week you can just sit and do stats chat with that.
Yeah. That would be great, wouldn't it? You wouldn't talk. So we will sort out a prize for that. I haven't 100% decided what it will be, but seeing as you people turn up here every week and find out, most of you that entered, it will probably be some merch from either NRG, from any of the other supporters out there that you wanna, and if we can source it, potentially a unit box, potentially of a faction of your choice, but as we know, that might not be happening till May. So
yeah, last time I did that, everybody turned around and said Greyjoys, and I was like, okay, but when?
Yeah.
So currently tons of people are like, you owe me a Greyjoy, and I'm like, all right, when?
Chris Eustace there. Will it come with a puncture kit? If we do send out the inflatable Carlos, yes, it will 100% come with a puncture kit. Actually, no, it won't, because we all know that Carlo's unpuncturable. I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm spiky enough.
Yeah, exactly. Is this the bit where
Go on now. Let's move on. Let's move on to
no, I'm not going to go down that.
Predictions are. Let's see what's going on.
Let's get the predictions up. I won't reveal
who. I want to tell you as well.
Oh, what? Oh yeah, I've got. Yeah, it's not interesting, Bob. It's just something we were talking about earlier. So the predictions, you can see them on just above Carlo's head, because as we know, Carlo's the stats guy. This is for NA. So to 0 people's surprise, they're in alphabetical order before everyone's alphabetical order and numerical order. No one's surprise, Ariakas comes out top. Surprise to you?
No. No. Stark player of Stark renown. Yeah. Guy's got previous form, and he's playing a powerful faction, and he's got nice looking lists.
Yep.
He was easy pick for me.
Yep. Brett, again, probably not a surprise to anybody. Brett has dominated the US scene, not necessarily all of North America, but definitely the US for quite literally now years. So he's won all the major tournaments, and I think that's not a surprise. People put their faith in Brett. We'll see how well he goes. He was super salty on Saturday when he played like 3 or 4 games back to back, and then he played like loads more on Sunday. I mean, again, we don't need to big up Brett's ego anymore, but Jesus Christ, does that man play a lot of games? Like, he was literally like, he was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go because I've got my game starting with the next person. I was like, what? You've already played a game before me. You've got like a game after, and you've got like a game after that. Man's crazy. Man absolutely loves playing a Song of Ice and Fire. Gruselug. What? What?
Where did Bruce come from?
Where did Gruce come from?
Everybody's backing Bruce. And
Everyone's backing Gruce. Now, Gruce, obviously a long-time fan of A Song of Ice and Fire stats. I go all the way back to when I did the Baratheon video, and I obviously hooked up with Gruce and wanted to see his opinions on Baratheons from NRG, the first NRG tournament. That man is an absolute hero, and he went through some absolute terrible times running Baratheons, some absolutely awful times running Targs, and I remember times where he was like, I'm gonna run Targs, and then he got battered because Targs are rubbish. And he used to try and pull down wins where he could, but he's finally got his dragons. He's finally been able to get there. And as you can see in chat there, dragons in capital letters, with first dragon mirror incoming also in capital letters there. That man, absolute hero. And I think it is. I think he deserves it, to be honest. I think he's been around.
People are putting their faith. People are putting their faith in him. You know what I mean? And why not? Why not?
He's like the NA version of Bob Bernard, right? Bob Bernard was like the Targ hero before Dragons came along, and Gruce is definitely the NA version. Which I'm pretty sure he'd be very happy if we compare him to Bob Bernard, because Bob's an absolute legend as well. So yeah, no, massive congrats there, Gruce. We've got no one at 6, interestingly. This is a bizarre little thing there. No one got predicted 6 times. But we go down to our next pair, Bolton Skincare, Sunday Slaughter, who actually lost his first game, right?
Bolton... He's running Free Folk. Running Free Folk, a relatively newish faction to him, but he's been popping up tons on the Discord looking for games, so I'm sure he's getting plenty of practice in with them.
I was going to say...
I would have gone...
I was going to say that, like, Bolton Skincare, Free Folk, and he's losing games, and there's no way he qualifies. Then I realised he played Endline, and Endline is like an absolute boss, as you're about to talk about him in a second.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it feels like...
If he hadn't lost his first game, I would have put my money on him, but now he's got to play close to flawlessly to get back into it. And I didn't quite see what I wanted to see in his lists myself to make me think, bang, this guy like knows Free Folk inside out. And as I spoke about on the video yesterday, like if you don't know Free Folk inside out, they're so unforgiving.
Yeah, definitely. It can really turn. 1 or 2 extra wounds here and there can just add up into an absolute dog pile of losing the game. Yeah, so Bolton comes in at 5, and Endline at 5 as well. Again, he actually won his first round, but Endline plays Lannisters almost religiously, and I actually think that he is probably one of the best Lannister players I've ever seen. And I know that you play Lannisters, Carlo. I know you do, but you've not actually played in any big tournaments. You've not actually played in any big tournaments with Lannisters and actually done very well. You got beaten by Chris Eustace in the UK. I mean, come on. So I mean,
now we're getting called out.
Now you are getting called out.
I couldn't put my faith in Endline just because I cannot see Lannisters surviving in a region that has three Mothers of Dragons that are currently on a win. I think that between that and Starks and Free Folk, you're gonna have to play really, really, really well. If he qualifies, he has outplayed the field, in my opinion. I think that Endline is quite possibly capable of doing that, and I was so close to giving him a pick, but I'm just gonna go with like my feelings on the factions and the lists themselves, and I didn't want to say that I have that kind of confidence in Endline because the tournaments are strong. Both regions are really, really strong. The players up at the top are all going to be playing well. So I think that it's going to come down a lot to list composition and tiny mistakes.
Yeah, and I agree. And I will say that I think if anyone can do it with Lannisters, I trust Endline. I trust Endline to be the one who can do it. Whether or not he will, we'll see. Leet Teddy Chris Eustace there, feeling personally attacked and then actually attacked. It's all right. Just remember, you've still got that trophy on the way to your address, and it's not on the way to Carlo's address. You've always got that. Yeah, he couldn't do it with Lannisters. Weasel Kingdom comes up fifth. In the next slot with 5 as well. He's a relatively new name to the online scene. He has been very, I would say vocal is probably the wrong word because that always has negative connotations. But he has been very active. You know, he's been posting a lot. He's been wanting a lot of games. I've got a relatively good relationship. You've got a good relationship with him. He's massively active in the Patreon channel we've got. I know, right? You hate him. No, but he's up there as well with 5 predictions as well, and he's playing Free Folk. And I will just quickly say he's one of the lists. Well, both of the lists that he's playing are lists that I came up with. One of them is a literal direct copy of mine, and he thinks it's amazing. So there you go. And the other one was something we talked about as Bants that you hated on.
Now,
I design lists all the time. I just don't win with them.
I think that Weasel Kingdom has come to A Song of Ice and Fire from other tabletop games with a very competitive attitude, and I think that actually there aren't that many people who have come to A Song of Ice and Fire with a heavily competitive attitude. That doesn't mean you're a win at all costs kind of player. It means that you want to study the game, you want to analyze why people are winning, and I think that has catapulted him like actually way higher than the amount of time he's been playing and the experience he has.
Mm-hmm. I'll give Charles his due there, Brett. Collaboration is 50-50, and we did collaborate on it. I sent him a message with the list, and he said, "Oh, I'm pretty sure we can make that better." And I said, "Yeah, probably by doing this." And he went, "Yeah, that." And we memed about it for a moment because 12 activations is hilarious, and probably we said at the time it would be hilarious if a 12 activation list made it because it would epitomize 1.6. It really would. So we move on to the next bracket, Griffin and Zero Talk. Griffin did really well first round, right? Griffin's he's one of those people who flies under the radar a little bit because in previous tournaments he's done quite well, and he's a heavy Night's Watch player from when I've seen him play before. He does like his Night's Watch, and he's currently joint first with Khan Artist in terms of position. UD's exactly the same, and he's also from Mythicos Studios, and the guys over at Mythicos from the guild there. I think Griffin could probably do quite well.
Yeah, I picked him. Yeah. I picked him. I think that you're absolutely right that Griffin has been flying under the radar. A number of times I've seen Griffin's name up towards the top of a tournament, and that's all you need here. What you need is some good consistency. You need 4 wins. You might get away with 3, but just get those 4 wins. So, yeah. I back him. I've gone for that.
Charles backs him as well, saying he's in the CSL team with him, and he says he's been breaking down a lot of matchups, and he's actually quite like heads in the game kind of thing. So yeah, cool, be cool. It's nice. It's nice to have someone else in there. He's a student of Ron. We'll see about that. Next up on our list was Zero Talk. Now I've played against Zero Talk, I believe, when he was playing Baratheons in a 30-point game. I think I think I played against him in that tournament. I can't remember. I've definitely played against him before, though. He was a good player back then. I think he's a good player now. Running Targs. And, I mean, for what? Can we just take a moment and just reiterate something you've said before? 3, 4, and 5. Targ. I mean...
Crushing victory. All played Mother of Dragons.
Let's just abandon Mother of Dragons for a moment, though. And let's at least say, Targs being at the top of a tournament is refreshing, at least. Yes, sure, it might be Mother of Dragons, and we know how that goes, but, when gone are the days of the Targaryen 20% win rate being an outlier because that's too high. That's gone, which is at least refreshing.
We always ask for change. We can't complain about change.
No, it's just I wish it was instead of like an average 10% win rate. I just wish they didn't have a 10% average loss rate. So, next up on our list.
The thing I like least about Mother of Dragons is that without them having copied each other in any way, these 3 lists are nearly identical just because 21 points of dragons writes itself. You've got 21 points of dragons, and you've got an on-field commander that you have to find a unit that you can put her in, and you can't really afford pikemen or swordsmen. So that means that all of your Targaryen options are out the window. So you're going to have to look to neutrals. And basically the list writes itself. And
Yeah.
that part is boring. That's what I like the least. Not about how actually powerful she is on the table, whether or not, it's a negative play experience for your opponent, that kind of stuff. Obviously that matters a bit. But what matters to me is that there's no invention with her at 40 points, and people say, oh, well, we should play 50 and stuff like that. But let's be brutally honest. This game is played 90+% of the time at 40 points. So that's what we need to talk about and be considerate about. And I don't think she's interesting at 40 points. She's very, very cookie cutter. There's barely any deviation in the way she can be fielded.
Definitely. We move down to Lord Commander Bob, otherwise known as Bombs. 27, I think, is his actual username, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I said I got something interesting to tell him, and this is purely an in-joke between me and him, but he revealed to me the other day he plays a lot of Dota 2, or used to. And he said that we should play a game. So in honor of Lord Commander Bob today, I've got my Dota 2 t-shirt on with Brewmaster on the front. So shout out to all the Dota 2 players out there. And also, I explained to him how the CMON tournament system works. And then you told me we weren't using the CMON one anymore. We were using normal Swiss.
No, yeah.
Books.
Nobody understands the CMON document. So I just abandoned using it.
That's fair enough. It was really awkward because I did understand it. And so I was like, I'll explain it to people because there's loads of questions about it. And then it was like, oh, we're just doing normal Swiss. I've trolled myself. So, yeah, there was that. But Lord Commander Bob, with Starks, I think it's away from his normal faction, but he is making there with 3 predictions. Cool. He's currently got a crushing win his first round. So, yeah, cool.
He's
Good
running
stuff.
Great John.
He is.
Great John attachment in Berserkers. That's 10 points of absolute wall debate.
It is
what I see.
It is 10 points of absolute wall debate.
We'll see.
But you know what else it is? It's also Bants. Because if that goes off and that overrun goes off, I mean, he's killing 2 units a turn. So, we see in the next bracket, we see Ardeep, Math, Claw, and Rohan. Now, Ardeep Math is relatively, again, he's an active guy on the Discord. So, yeah, absolute legend. On the Discord, he posts loads of questions. And he is running Baratheon. You don't back him because he's running Baratheon. Basically. But he is a good player. He comes from where Van's gaming group in Wargames ID. He is a good player. I don't think we can take that away from him. And his teammate, I guess, was his friend, if you will, Claw, also from Wargames ID, also another friend from in Van's gaming group, and also up there with another 2 votes as well. So I think those are going to go undercover in the NA region, even though they're not really NA.
I voted for Claw. I looked a long time at his JR list, and I think that he's specialized tech into dragons. I'll be super interested to see how Claw versus Zero Talk goes, because I think that his JR list is entirely designed to kill MOD and has a real chance. We see that that Swarm Brothers with Jon Snow and Ghost being the ultimate killer combo, but we also see Swarm Brothers with Brienne, which at first I laughed at, but knowing that you get to deploy after MOD, you can hunt either MOD down or a particular dragon, depending on which one you name, and you're throwing the kind of dice that, yes, okay, we're not talking about Jon and Ghost Bond here, but the kind of dice that Fire Made Flesh isn't necessarily going to save you from.
So crit blow as well, and the +1 to hit, what you're talking about there is a minimum. Let's be realistic here, probably a minimum of 10 hits. A minimum. You can very easily generate more than that. I could work out the stats, but I'm not going to do that for us today. So yeah, I think it's good. And Van didn't sign up. No, he's a bit burnt out from competitive play at the moment with Song West and Fire. I think he's waiting for the new update. So that brings us down to Rohan. Relatively, he's been in quite a lot, but he's kind of like thrown under the kind of like veil a little bit. But he is very good free folk player from what I've heard. And I think Bruce was saying that he's actually the best free folk player he's ever seen, like in the real world, before the online stuff came along, which could be like really positive.
In
It
the
could
before
also
times.
be like where you've seen like one free folk player. So you know, free folk players are actually quite rare. So yeah, I think this is the best Brassing player I've played. Definitely think he's a dark horse. Tom Tyler there, shouting out to our deep math. Yeah, I think he's gonna do well. I think if there's going to be a Brathian qualifier in the NA region, it will be him. I don't think he will because I don't think Brathians can. But I
Yeah.
think he's got a good
What if I
shot.
told you the best Brathian player is gonna come 10th? When that comes true, you'll be like,
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah. We're playing free folk like the Euro. Or Craig Rohan was playing free folk like the Euros. Yeah, cool, good. I'm glad that there was an NA player playing European style free folk. That's a good thing. That pleases me. So then we have with one vote, Codfather, Gamma, and Tobbo. We're not going to spend much time talking about these guys, although big shout out to all three of them.
I
Anything
picked
there?
Tobbo. Why am I
picked
the
Tobbo,
only one who
yeah.
picked Tobbo Mark? He's a Masters player. He's a Masters player, and he's playing Mother of Dragons. And
Yeah.
he's currently sat in like 4th place.
The man is really good. I'm a little bit surprised.
Bruce is
Yeah.
going to have a big game right here. We'll see who comes out in what is going to be the first recorded Mother of Dragons mirror. We assume we're making a massive assumption that both players will play Mother of Dragons into this, but that's the way things go with MOD at the moment. I personally can't ever see a time when you shouldn't be using her. So yeah, let's see what happens.
I had a guy needed to play 10 Raiders, 1 Trapper, Steer Your Grit, and it was dumb. That does sound really dumb, actually. That sounds just stupid. Like, it doesn't even sound like it'll do very well. Anyway, so let us. Should we move over to EU now?
The better region.
Shots fired. Wow, that was quick. So we move over to EU and we see this hilarious statistical anomaly. Myself and Chris Eustace. I think what baffles. So if Chris is still here, if Lee is still here.
UKOP clearly.
UK players, the two UK players who are quite active, getting a lot of votes. Now, I think this is an absolute joke because I don't know why people put faith in me. I talk a lot of crap, and to be honest, I didn't think anyone listened. So clearly, people do trust me.
Premier free folk shit talker, though, Mickey.
I am a premier free folk shit talker. If anything, I am a premier free folk shit talker. And let's put it like this: Chris is just a shit talker. So I mean, he would be Lannister premier, but he's decided to go for Starks this time round. And yeah, exactly. That's exactly
me. We all know he's better than me. So,
he is better than you. Yeah, he beat you in that tournament, didn't he? Even though he didn't play you. Hilariously, me and Chris both rank higher, and I'm not going to talk about me and Chris too much. Larks only gets 6 votes.
Who's that?
Larks guy? You've never heard of Larks? Shall I go check out Larks' profile? Just quickly, just a quick reminder of Larks, because I know we don't talk about Larks very often. There you go.
Aren't we gonna see a big result on Larks' profile that says that you beat him recently, Mickey?
Should we go for it? It was in a Greyjoy mirror, so I mean, there you go. Look at that. I'm just eating into his win rate. Got that crushing victory against him. But
Larks. Somebody doesn't back Larks, or should we just follow it up with Rossi, who's also an incredibly strong German player?
Yeah.
And somebody's got no faith in the Germans.
Rossi's great. I mean, I played Rossi recently as well, and Rossi's great actually. Rossi's a good player, but he's also a really nice guy. To be fair, so is Larks. The two German players there, I will be surprised if they don't qualify, to be honest. So yeah. Shame the dissenter, says Craig. See you later, Brett, as well. Yeah, he has been a little bit on the bench. Maybe people think he's rusty. Yeah, man, that could be true.
On the bench. He actually hasn't. If you look out, he's been looking for a ton of games in just the past 2 weeks. The guy knows how to prep in the short term. And if you look at his list, he's clearly come with an idea. He's gone double Howland for NCU. That didn't come out of nowhere. He's been preparing on the down low, on the quiet.
Yeah, that is definitely shutting out the late sudden charge is just filling up the tactics board, make the tactics board not a factor in the late game, which is something that a lot of other factions take for granted anyway. But with Starks, they actually prey on that, and so yeah, him shutting out that late game tactics board, meaning that the opponent realistically is only going to have one NCU to activate if they want to do it. It changes the dynamic of the matchup and means that people can't just do things late on into the turn using the tactics board. And I'm guessing he's going in with a game plan where he himself is not going to use that tactic himself. So
yeah, instead with Arya and the Kranigman and other Howland cards, he's looking to be aggressive early on in the turn. He looks to be aggressive on the start of round trigger before we even talk about turns. So yeah, I think
he even stacks his favorite unit in the game, which is the Kranigman Trackers with the Kranigman Warden. That 6-point combo, which is phenomenal, I might add, is really good for 6 points. So you know, we'll see him use that, no doubt, in those mirrors, I reckon. Winter is Coming comes up next. Now, Winter is Coming is, I think he's kind of relatively new to the free folk scene, but he is running free folk, and if you look at his Harmer list, it's basically identical to what I run, except he trades out a unit of the Spearwives for a unit of Trappers. Now, I've run this list. I prefer the Spearwives, and there's some reasoning behind that, but I think the list is good. His Steer list runs, he drops out two Raiders, for running a Mammoth as well. Yeah, they're good lists.
I back him because I think that this Styre double Mammoth list is strong, and I think it provides a really good balance against the Harmer free folk spam. I think the pairing is a very powerful pairing, and I think that it could well come to dominate the rest of 1.6 before we see balance.
I agree.
I think that it actually might be the most powerful pairing in the game at the moment. We'll have to see how it plays into Howland, which you go for. That's always the toughest choice into a Howland Rob pairing. So we'll see what happens there. But I do think that Styre Warmouth list can give Starks some real problems. And I think that Harmer Trapper spam scares dragons. So there's your major bases covered. And I'm really interested to see it actually play out and see how many times out of 10 those matches go which way.
Interestingly, Brett's saying a question before he goes: can Trappers trap the area free movement? Yeah.
Why not?
Orders are reset at the end of a turn, so the orders would be used at the start of the turn. The order itself can be used on anything. It doesn't have to be an activation or anything like that. It's just a movement. So yeah, as long as they're within long range. Does it?
I'll have a look.
Oh, yeah. Let's bring it up. Let's have a quick look. It won't take us 2 seconds to check. Will I get a live ruling, live thoughts and ruling from the man on air?
Brilliant.
When an unengaged enemy within long range moves, that enemy suffers D3 wounds and triggers a disorderly charge on rolls of 2 or less this turn.
Well, no, because we are able to trigger the trigger, right?
Yeah,
the trigger part of it is enacted. You can trigger something if it has no effect. It's well known that you can trigger something if it has no effect.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
you can play distraction tactics with free folk, and it does -0 to the dice.
Yeah, I know it's not an option, Brett, but it also doesn't require you to use it.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted, you could use a card or ability that heals you if you have nothing to heal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have to be able to. Other cards, like, you move a token from one person to another, you don't, like, if there's nobody within range to move it to, then that's also not a problem. You know, like, these things are known that just because you do this and this, if you can't fulfill both parts, it doesn't negate your ability to use the trigger.
Yeah. It's just the effect of the disorderly charge. The key here is the effect of the disorderly charge lasts for a turn if it's being used in a turn. So Swift Advance would actually be you could use traps on swift advance, and the disorderly would still last for the activation of the charge. So if something moves out of long range from traps, then charges another unit, the traps would still have an effect on that charge, even it wasn't that move. So that's the only reason they've written it that way.
And of course, we see the rabbit hole that we're going down.
Of course.
Craig Bruce is asking, if he uses it at the start of round to gain an attack and therefore a maneuver with Ramsey in Bolton Bastard Girls. Technically, we're not inside of a turn phase, so I guess no. You would be losing. You would be losing the second part there. You would not be triggering the disorderly on the 1/2 because we're not inside of a turn structure.
I agree. I completely agree. There is no turn, so you can't get the disorderly on the turn, which is ridiculous, I might add. But is there because there wasn't out of turn. I'm guessing it's because they don't think about out of turn stuff as being reactable or anything like that. Just shows you how important it is to get wording on cards right, doesn't it? Because otherwise things fall through the cracks. Gotta hope that those playtesters have noticed all of those in the run-up to 2021. So let's move back on to our predictions. So we see next up we have got the next bracket, Bizonko and Deoxys. Bizonko is a massively unheard of name. I don't believe he's really been in anything.
I believe, maybe, if I'm remembering right. Our solo Mother of Dragons entry.
Solo Mother of Dragons.
We're just going to Google Bizonko now?
No, we're not going to Google Bizonko. Although it would be interesting if we did. No, let's look at the player standings. On Bizonko, where is he? Because it will tell us where he's from. That's a great name. He's Czech. It's Czech, isn't it? Or Slovakian, or Slovenian.
Ah, fair enough.
It'll tell us when you click on it. Slovenian, that's it. Those flags are all very similar. So Slovenian.
Possibly seen him coming out of the Slovenian Masters, which was run through the site.
It was, wasn't it? Should we have a quick look?
Maybe where I recognize the name from.
We have a quick look. Yeah. I mean, I know this is not necessarily the focus of today, but hey, we love going down our little rabbit holes. Slovenian Masters, where are we? Wouldn't it be good if I could search these? I can't I?
You can by country. You could, although it's on TTS.
Yeah.
So it won't go up by country.
TTS tournament, that'll help it. I think I'm probably just blind. We'll give it 2 seconds. There we go. Right. Yep, there we go. Bizonko, who came, looks like 4th in that event. So yeah.
Baratheons that time.
Baratheons. So yeah, he's not a completely unheard of name, although he is relatively new to the international side of it. I guess we'll see where that one goes. So yeah, I think
people are betting on Mothers of Dragons be Mothers of Dragons.
Yeah.
I think that they have a surprisingly high amount of Baratheons and Lannisters in this field to feed upon. So we'll see what happens. I think that he'll pick up enough wins to get through. That's just the way I think. Without even knowing his quality as a player, they're a relatively straightforward faction to put on the table and just start burning people with. So that's why I give him a vote there.
Yeah.
Deoxys, on the other hand, 4 votes.
Yeah.
Guy's rating has gone up and down over the period of time, but he's put in big performances in past events. I've seen him come mid-table with Targaryens.
Yeah.
In the before times, and I'm talking big international NRG event. He managed to come, I think, like 30th with Targs, and I was like, that's a good player. Mm-hmm. He's one of the few players who ever beat me, actually.
All right.
And
calm down.
In a mirror matchup, of all things, which tells you that when you lose a mirror matchup, it mostly just tells you that your opponent's just better than you. So he was a surefire bet for me.
Yeah. I get on. I mean, we still talk with Deoxys. He likes to watch all the games and things, and I chat with him, even though the distance is quite literally the other side of the world, over in Australia. So yeah, we'll see him do well. People saw him playing Larks next round and thought it was uphill battle. Maybe, but I mean, not everyone rated Larks, so I mean, come on.
I mean, Larks is going to fall to that massive Chris Eustace and Maserath. So,
I know, right? Oh god, that's putting pressure on. So that's our four. So then we got none at three, but loads at two. Loads at two. Avenkopf, Death 1942, Decay, Kolko, Morpheus Com, Open City, and Marsara. We saw Kolko lose to Open City this week, so there's that. We saw, I think there's a mixture of people in the top there, and actually majority of these second.
So Massara lose to Rossi.
Yes, we did.
Who's already come in with 6 votes.
Which was we talked
Close
about last
game.
week. Long. I'll just
Long game.
say that. Affenkopf, he played in the TSL, so no, he's doing all right. Death, unfortunately, didn't look like he did very well in round one. Unfortunately, I don't know what he played up against, but didn't look too good. Affenkopf actually down there with Starks as well, with from Rightful Heirs. I think I might have played him in. I think I might have played him in the TSL. I can't remember.
There's a lot of well-known, recognizable TSL and other international tournament players in this EU region, and a lot of them didn't pick up a first-round win.
Yep.
You know, like it's gonna be a dangerous field. It's like losing a game doesn't mean you're gonna get easy opponents now. There's tough opponents in that lost field.
Yeah, definitely. And that moves us down into the like bottom bracket. And I know that he came up in a massive conversation that you were having, Carlo, and he nearly made it into your prediction in Mahoney's Law, otherwise known as, because we always say his name incorrectly. We've got to say incorrectly at least once here. Mahoney's Law. The Mahoney coleslaw of the universe. He gets a point, which I'm guessing wasn't from you. It was from Chris Eustace. I'm going to say that one because he pretty much said it.
Is that a pity point?
He says it though. Chris. He said it even in chat there. Though I wasted a vote on washed-up Masters player Mahoney's Law. Yeah, I think he's good. I honestly think he's good. You didn't back him as much as you thought you would, but I do think he's probably got a shot.
I didn't back him because it's a stark mirror matchup heavy field, and I didn't like his lists into the stark mirror matchup. He did actually send me a message. Quite a few people sent me a message after I asked on my video. I mean, I'm sure people will come out and defend their list. Quite a lot of people. None of them told me I was like that I should have bet on them and that they're definitely going to qualify. But lots of people had things to say about their lists, about why I didn't quite see what they were going for and why they were better than I thought they were, which is absolutely brilliant. Like that's the most interesting discussion that we can have right now, in my opinion. A lot of what goes on in Discord is a lot of people shouting at each other and telling each other that they're idiots and that they're crap. Whereas I think that right now, when we can't play as much as we want to, there is still tons of interesting discussion about list design, what it's designed for, and how you see it playing out. That's one of the things that interests me most about the game. And interests me most about Larks is, new take on the Howland, because everybody thought that was just something that was just like cookie cuttered, and you just insert that and that's going to be your new thing. But he's taken it a step further.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. I like people coming up with new ideas when they can back them up. I'm not a massive fan. And if you're talking about fun lists, it's different. Creative fun lists is a different thing entirely. But when someone comes along and they're like, "Oh, I've got this idea," and you're like, "Yeah, but like I don't understand what you're trying to do with that, and I think it's bad," and then they just say, "Oh, I just like it," and it's like, well, that's, And we saw that with someone trying to include Stag Knights, right? Someone was like, "Oh, Stag Knights are great," and it's like, no, they're just not. Like, it doesn't matter what your idea with the list is, you've got to have a lot of backing to put in Stag Knights and have it to be a good list. And if the defense is, if the reasoning isn't strong enough, then no, not having it. So as long as people have got good reasonings, and to be honest, most of the players in the World Cup will have good reasoning. Like we saw, those of you who saw the Open City game, Open City versus Kolko, he defended the Brienne in Stormcrow Mercenaries Archers. I don't think it's a good combo. I personally don't think it's good. Carlo doesn't think it's good. But the point is that he picked it for a reason, and that reason works in the list. I don't think it's good, but I think it's definable and defendable in that list. So
anybody that comes into an event and says, I'm using this list, this unit, this attachment for this reason, I rate better than somebody who comes along and says, I'm using this list, which I instantly look at and think that's a strong list. And I'm like, why are you using that list? And they're like, because Lark's won with it. I'm like, no, okay. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I have a lot less faith in you for having copied Lark's list than coming up with your own, even if I think that your own isn't quite as optimized, in my opinion. You will understand the intricacies of it so much better that I have much more faith in your ability to pilot it. When a person makes some choices outside of the box, if I ask them why they made it and their answer is, oh, it's because it's fun or something like that, I'm like, well, no. But if they're like, okay, it's to play into like this specific thing, I'm like, okay, this person has thought about matchups, they've thought about the tournament, they've thought about the way to approach their game, they've probably even thought about how things deploy, what goes against what, and that is 90% of winning.
Yeah, it is. It is. Understanding your own list and the components and what they're used for is more important than actually the power level. Ultimately, then, though, it's about how well you use it, and that's where all of the, that understanding comes in. Because if you understand it, you can use it well. That's the theory, anyway. All right, so
Leak says that George is either playing 4D chess or he's hitting the crack pipe. I'm sorry, but he's hitting the crack pipe. Even if he qualifies, he's hitting the crack pipe. Get rid of those Brienne archers, mate. They don't do.
Yeah.
They don't do what you want.
Don't like George this. I'm scared of playing it because it's going to have a playstyle that I'm really not experienced. Yeah, the playstyle is called Bury Your Head in the Sand, and if Melisandre and Andrew roll well, then you've lost. It's pretty much as simple as that. And if they don't roll well, then you've got a game on your hands. You can actually play it. Yeah, it's definitely to be honest, I said it before though. It's a style. If your best way of winning is to take a random die roll chance, and that's the best way that you can take a particular matchup, that's actually, even though it's not good, it's the best thing you can do. So, yeah.
Yep. Sometimes your best route to victory in the old game modes was stacking the table so that it had a massive favoring to one side or the other, and then hoping you win the dice roll to pick sides. Like, actually, like, if the game mode is that unfavorable to you, but just understanding that part and understanding that that's your best route to victory already means that you're thinking, how do I win this game?
Yeah, 50-50 chance is better than a 10-80, or a 20-80. Okay then. So those are all the predictions from all the players, and huge shout out to those of you who appeared in everyone's list. Unfortunately, that means I've got to put some work in, otherwise I'm going to let some people down, as is Chris. Haha, I can laugh at that one, because he doesn't want to have to put the work in.
But everybody's bet on you, so you let down everybody equally, and nobody will mind.
Exactly.
So Larks is the one who has to really feel the pressure. Otherwise, the one person who didn't bet on him is going to come out and be like, ha! Get it, Larks. I knew you wouldn't qualify.
Yeah. Shall I reveal who it was?
That's up to you, Mickey.
No, it's up to you, Carlo.
You're the keeper of the predictions, the master and commander of the results.
I'll leave it hidden for now, but it will be hilarious if he's right. Because I'll leave it there. Anyway, so there's the predictions. We will see how that comes about. Shame him. You never know, he might be the true expert, which will make it even more hilarious if he is right. So, right then. So, that's World Cup. We've seen NA. We've seen EU. We've gone an hour and 20 minutes. Carlo, is there anything left for us to talk about this week?
Dance with Dragons. Quite a good game mode. We'll see if the new objectives have much effect. I think a lot of people are happy that the mute NCU is not there anymore.
Yeah.
I think the Dragon Mirror matchup is going to be super interesting to me. I think it's a very, very technical game mode. Just the way I think a Stark Mirror match is an incredibly technical game mode. I think that Dance with Dragons, crazily enough, is actually really not favorable to dragons. Holding on to an objective and slowing down to 2 movement is not something that a dragon wants to do. Dragons really want to use and abuse their maneuverability, to like always be putting in ranged breath attacks from a position that their opponent can't charge them back from.
Mm-hmm.
So see whether or not MOD survives the week. See how this MOD mirror matchup goes. I'll be really pleased if somebody manages to stream it. I'll be happy to try and find and watch that. That one's interesting because it totally flips the tactics deck on its head. All the cards which MOD normally value no longer value because dragons ignore those cards. And it's interesting because, you know, like one dragon can never one-shot another dragon. So it's going to be a lot about tempo and timing of when you heal, when you don't heal. Can you get 2 dragons onto 1 dragon? Can you ever kill a dragon and overrun? All these things are going to be massive plays. The game is going to be tense, I think. Like, I think a Stark matchup can be quite slow, tactical. But the dragon one, while it could be slow and very positional play, it could get very, very messy, very, very fast. So I'm super interested in that. We'll see what else goes on. See if Barras take a hit, or if they're significantly better at this game mode now that they have a 10-inch deployment, because I think that is a big boon to them.
It is.
With this game mode.
I'm playing as Baratheon, so I'll see. Don't think he doesn't have Waldron either list, if I remember rightly. So that'll make it more fun for me. And you know, I don't think he has any threat for the Mammoth as well, so it might be time for a Mammoth to hit the table and crunch on some Baratheon souls, which he, you know, I apologise immediately to. I'm playing against Sabethi, who beat Stannis in the TSL in the Baratheon Mirror. So I've got to go and reclaim one back for the good old Humbles. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right then, guys. Well, we hope to catch you all on streams this week. We'll either be there participating and showing you our beautiful ideas and thoughts about games, or we'll be joining you in the chat and catching up on all the various different stuff that goes on throughout the week. Watch out for the article, no doubt, The Visions in Flame, that comes out maybe tomorrow. We're guessing. So check out the new article. Be interested to see where that one goes. And between now and then, Carlo, is there anything else much happening this week? Aside from different streams everywhere, that kind of thing?
No, I think that's about all that we can expect. You know, cool. Things are on the slow burner, aren't they? Would love to hear a Greyjoy date, but I don't think that's going to go official for quite a while.
Definitely. So guys, go out there, enjoy your rest of your week. Go and win A Song of Ice and Fire games, and we will catch you on Monday. See you later, guys.